Well, we are with Patrick Hoye, who is a candidate for mayor of Pleasant Hill. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, before we get into issues, I just want to get some background. Who is Patrick Hoye?
Okay. I always start with I'm the youngest child of Mary Hoye, and my father passed away when I was very young. So my mom raised 5 children on her own as a school cook, and then as a secretary. So we grew up in northwest Iowa, Storm Lake, Iowa.
Okay.
And so from those humble beginnings, I really believe
Is that Buena Vista County?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. So it was one of those that obviously our mom was a huge influence on all of us children growing up, and she was one of those that although we didn't have a lot, she was always felt that we were a blessed family, and I think that passed on to us kids, and so we as we graduated from high school and went on, we all went on to further education, but all of us ended up in service fields.
Okay.
As we made it through our careers, and I think that's a reflection back on our mom, and so that's
So what was your service field?
I actually spent 32 years with the Iowa State Patrol, and I was blessed. 2007, I was appointed Colonel of the State Patrol,
Okay.
and then in 2015 retired, and shortly after that I took my current position with the Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. So in the state of Iowa, when you think of anything traffic safety, we hope you think of us. So that's kind of where my career's gone.
Well, that's important. You know, we so often see things like homicides get the headlines, but the simple truth is a lot more people die from traffic incidents annually in Iowa than ever die from bullet fire.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah, and that that's one of the things. Unfortunately, when you do read the paper, you rarely read about the maybe third or fourth page on a traffic fatality. But the things that I talk to in our community is if you're the one that loses a spouse or a child, you really don't care what the cause of death was. It's that loss. And so I've always felt that if you're in a position where you can impact that, you're a pretty lucky person. So I do. I consider myself pretty fortunate to be in a career where you can actually impact lives.
Now, how does one go from being a state patrolman and now a traffic safety person to wanting to be mayor of Pleasant Hill?
Well, running for city council, the mayor's of both, but for me, I was looking when I decided to take a look at the city council was the idea of continuing to serve. I think that's something that if you have the desire and you believe you have the capabilities.
So it's city council, not mayor?
Yeah, city council.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
must have had a misprint, but that's
Okay, yeah. But so it really was. I had reached out to some people I knew in city government, and I was interested in whether it be on a board or I just feel that if you can, you should serve. And so when I reached out to them, they said we do have openings on the city council, and so I thought, before I commit, I wanted to do some research. So I started attending the city council meetings and, kind of seeing where the city was going. And, I just felt that, with my background with budgets and, I worked with state legislators on, many issues in the past. And I just felt that, I did have something to offer the city. And I had kind of a vision where I'd like to see us go, and it kind of paired with where I think they're trying to take it. So when the opening came, I decided, even this late in the game, I thought I'd never run before, but it felt right, and so I took out papers, and here I am sitting with you. So big jump today.
Well, having served in political office where there was no compensation, I appreciate your continued service. What's your vision for Pleasant Hill? And also just give folks a quick synopsis of what Pleasant Hill looks like, both in terms of population and in terms of just overall profile. I mean, do we have a lot of businesses? Is it landlocked? Is it growing in terms of, or potentially growing from annexation?
I think that when you take a look at Pleasant Hill, it's just under 10,000 in population, but it's like every city in the metro, it's growing, but not at the pace of, say, Waukee or Altoona, Ankeny. And I think, when we take a look, and when I had the opportunity to live in any city in the metro, the thing that drew me to Pleasant Hill was it is kind of that quieter community. And for me, that's what I was looking for. And, the lake there is beautiful. We use it to bike and hike, and they have great trails. But it's more of a bedroom community than I think I would like to see. And, if you're going to, we do have a couple of fine restaurants, but, if you're looking to dine, a lot of people are leaving. We really don't have a downtown. And so, commercial businesses, hardware store, things like that, the things that you use every day, you're traveling. And so I think, it was kind of interesting.
You do have a grocery store?
We do. We have, actually two great ones,
Okay.
Hy-Vee, Fairway. So, I mean, the essentials are there. It's just that I think that a city has to continue to grow. Now, the pace of growth, is a different story, but I think you need to continue to grow. And Pleasant Hill does have that opportunity to expand. We're not landlocked. And so I think, as the vision for that community goes forward, I think you begin to add those types of businesses, those different amenities that the community needs. And, I don't think we'll ever be that huge city, but I think the people that live there are comfortable with that. And, I guess when I look at a community, the things that, if I wanted to live there, if I were coming in, I look for, number one is it a safe community? And Pleasant Hill is. You get that small town feel where you know your neighbors, and you're not nervous walking out after dark, and so it is a safe community. And then on the other side of that is what is the condition of the city? And the city has done very well. Their capital improvement projects have been well done. The streets are maintained, and there's challenges with any city that's growing, like fire stations and police stations are growing too small, and those will be issues that I think Pleasant Hill will deal with in the coming years. And so, but overall, it is. I think it's a jewel of the metro. I really do. I think it's a great community, and feel fortunate to live there.
Well, and the reason I was just looking up cities in Iowa, and cities in Polk County face some unique challenges. In Iowa, a city with 10,000 population is not necessarily a small city when you get past the top 30 or 40.
Great.
In Polk County, there are a number of cities that have more population, so it's easy to have a loss, but 10,000 people really represent some unique potential.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So, as a member of the city council, how do you begin maximizing that potential? For example, we had a candidate from Windsor Heights earlier, and he was talking about, as much as, people love university, that they don't have a main street. They're the only city their size that doesn't have a main street. And so he wants to take university and turn it into a main street for Waukee. And so, that's kind of his idea of how you take and begin building that community's economic capacity. How do you begin building the economic capacity for Pleasant Hill? What are 2 or 3 things that can can concretely be done to begin to continue the growth and to take it beyond just being that breakfast community?
Well,
Bedroom
community, yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we look at is what would want you to move into community, and those are the things that you have to have in place to bring in new businesses and growth. And we talked about a few of them, but probably the one thing that I would look at is when you're looking at housing, Pleasant Hill seems to have lower end and then high end by the golf course, Copper Creek, but I think we're missing that middle area of housing, and I think when developments come in, I think those are the types of housing developments that Pleasant Hill would need to attract people.
You don't necessarily have that middle class.
Correct. Yeah. And I think you look at where you would annex land in the future, and is there opportunity for businesses to grow out there?
Where would you annex?
Well, it's almost going to have to be east. It would have to go towards Southeast Polk and in that area. Is where I would see it. And one of the things that I would tell you is obviously that's my vision. But I believe that the city is working on that, and like I said, this is my first gamut into the to the arena. So obviously I am only speaking from where I see it going, and I believe the council is probably well on their way of moving in that agenda too.
When we look at Pleasant Hill, it's part of a couple of school districts. What should the relationship be between the city of Pleasant Hill and the Des Moines and Southeast Polk school districts?
Well, I think there needs to be a connectiveness there, but I think it's not only the school districts, but towns or cities that have that good feel, have that connectedness with everybody in the community, where everybody feels a part of that. But I think it's obviously because when you're talking great communities, you're talking great schools, and so I think there needs to be a closeness with the city council and the school board and the schools themselves.
I was just following up on some information. Pleasant Hill is one of the is in that 40 to 45 range in terms of largest city in Iowa, out of around 900 or so.
Yeah.
So that to me says something about the potential. How do you take it from a bedroom community to a growing city, while at the same time not getting into some kind of competition with your neighbors? Altoona, we heard earlier about Waukee and Adel and the battle over annexation, and you have other communities that get, do we do this? One candidate, city council person who's running for re-election, described the annexation game like Connect Four.
There might be some truth to that.
So how do you grow this community without getting into a type of competition with your neighbors?
Well,
is that a fair question?
Yeah, it is, but I think there's always some competition with communities. I think that's unavoidable. Because really, at the end of the day,
so there's nothing wrong with giving a first place ribbon and not just a participatory.
Well, as long as the blue ribbon goes to Pleasant Hill, yeah, no, I'm fine. But no, I do. I think there's always that competition, because at the end of the day, when you're on a city council, you want what's best for your community, and so I think there will always be that. But there's with that being said, I still believe in my heart of hearts that when communities work together, when you do regional projects, that at the end of the day, those are probably the most successful. Whether it be construction projects, things like that. Everything from the fireworks ordinance. Where everyone had a little different take. I think that makes it tough on city councils because you're being compared to your neighboring city and those types of things where I just think if everybody was on the same page, and that's tough to do, I certainly understand that, but to me that makes a great metro.
I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked almost every candidate, if not every candidate today. I have been reading about this amazing metropolitan community. I've seen the reports in the magazines and promos from the partnership and all these other things. I've decided I'm going to move to the greater Des Moines area. And then I get here and I'm in my hotel room and I'm trying to make a decision before I bring my family out. And I have to decide between Ankeny and Altoona and Waukee and West Des Moines and Windsor Heights. Why should I move my family to Pleasant Hill?
Well, I think there's actually several reasons. One, it has a great school system. I mean, it is truly, if you like, depending where you're moving from, and if you're moving from Iowa, odds are you might, Des Moines might be too big. Other cities are going too big. Pleasant Hill still has that feel where you came from, and it's a safe community. You have a good small town feel, and to me, if you're going to raise children in a community, I think that's what you want. You want where you still know your neighbors. The Chamber of Commerce is really trying to get more community involvement. We just did trick or treating around the lake, and things like that. That they're small things, but they're community things. And like I said, to me, that's the thing that I love about Pleasant Hill is it has that community feel. It has good streets. It is a safe community, and I think it's a great place to call home.
I'm a business looking to move in, and we had a city council person from Waukee who grew up in Waukee, moved back to Waukee, but when it came time to decide where she put her business, it wasn't about being loyal to Waukee, it was about where she was going to make the most money. And she came to the conclusion that she wanted to be in Waukee. So if I have a business, tell me why I should be in Pleasant Hill. I might decide to live there because
right.
It's a safe place, and I can take my kid trick or treating and not have to worry about razor blades or
Yep.
my kid getting snatched. But that's a little different than where I might want to put my business. So why should I put my business in Pleasant Hill?
Well, there's when you take a look at the you got Highway 65, 163, great transportation exits out. It is as you're building. There isn't a lot of competition. There's not a lot of already established name brand businesses in there, so you're kind of on the cutting edge. So you have that going for you. The community feel, community support. If you want to follow the pack, you go elsewhere. You want to lead the pack, come to Pleasant Hill.
So you might get a little more attention than if you go to some of these other places.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I want to shift gears for a moment. Des Moines is important to a number of our suburban neighbors, both for good and ill. Let me start first and ask you what relationship should exist between Pleasant Hill and the city of Des Moines as it relates to the amenities that are in Des Moines, the zoo, the civic center, the Principal Park, Sid Taylor Field. I'm trying to get used to that one.
I still call it Sid Taylor.
Yeah, I wanted to call it that, but I'm trying to be respectful. So what should the Science Center, so what should the relationship be between the suburbs and supporting these regional amenities that are in Des Moines?
Well, I think a lot of them are attendance driven. That when Principal Park is full or people are attending the zoo, they do well. And, I think that's one of the things that the suburbs, it's kind of a win-win for Des Moines and for us. Because of our size, we can't have a zoo, we can't have a AAA ball club. But, from anywhere in Pleasant Hill, you can be down at Principal Park in 15, 20 minutes, and when you talk United States, you can't go 4 blocks in New York in 20 minutes, so but when you're looking at that, I think it's critical because that is the draw here, and I'll be honest, I grew up in Storm Lake, and when I was going to retire, that's where we were headed back, but because of everything that is in the Des Moines area, we just can't leave it, there's just too much here, and it's, I think that's why it continually scores high in rankings, whether it be Forbes or things like that, because Des Moines is a great city, and the small suburbs around it support it, and I think we make each other better.
I want to confirm just something before I ask you a question about comparisons, but Des Moines has a lot of wonderful amenities. I was at the Civic Center last night, the Color Purple. A week earlier they had Rotten Scoundrels, and there's a lot of good stuff in Des Moines.
Absolutely.
But there are also some serious issues. The homicide rate's quadrupled, poverty rate, and there are folks talking about a 1 cent sales tax. And the reason the 1 cent sales tax fell before was because voters in Des Moines weren't willing to give the city that penny. So if the sales tax, well, first of all, let me ask you, what's your position on the idea of a 1 cent sales tax to support cities in the Polk County area?
Well, I think it has to be, I think you have to take a look at it, when you look at diminishing resources. But I'll be honest, before I would jump in, I would have to do more research on it. I know, I did take a look previously, saw that it had failed. It's that double-edged sword. You hate to increase any tax, but yet, to provide, the things we talked about, lowering crime, police departments, fire departments, you have to have the funding to do that, so.
Well, I think it's a unique challenge to regional leaders and leaders in other municipalities to understand that if core issues aren't addressed in Des Moines, the residents of Des Moines are going to deny Ankeny and Urbandale and Johnson and Milwaukee and Pleasant Hill that revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that sometimes we like to be very, hands off. Well, it's them and this is us.
Yeah.
Well, them is going to cost us if we don't have a regional conversation about what's going on in the capital city. Is that a
No, I
statement?
would agree with that. And as I mentioned a little earlier, when you can come to as a metro, when you can make those decisions together, it certainly is preferable. So
You mentioned Storm Lake,
mm-hmm.
and not too far from you is capital county seat of Clay County, Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be surprised if I said, and visualize what you have in Pleasant Hill?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be surprised if I said that Pleasant Hill is just about the same size as Storm Lake and Spencer?
Yeah, I would say they're equally about the same.
So they are about the same size.
Mm-hmm.
Visualize what they have in Spencer, what they have in Storm Lake, because I know in Storm Lake they have a couple of newspapers, and Spencer
Right.
they have the Daily, and
Yep.
you have the hotels, and you have the Walmart, and you have the
Yep.
and in Storm Lake you have a lot of that too.
Right.
So to help individuals understand where you're coming from, do you visualize Pleasant Hill, because its population is similar, at some point being kind of similar? Because I've traveled all 99 counties several times, and Spencer has a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And Storm Lake has a lot of stuff. And when I think of driving through Pleasant Hill, I think of, I get there and I have Legends, and I have the Copper Creek Theater,
Yep.
and I have Okoboji, and I have Hy-Vee, and I don't know if they have Hardy still.
No.
I don't
But
think they
McDonald's
have-
and Fairway, and
McDonald's and Fairway,
Subway, and
Casey's,
yeah.
and then I go in the underpass and I'm hitting Altoona.
Yeah.
So, which kind of community are you as a leader going to strive to preserve that bedroom feel, or to strive to get to a point where you are on the same par, as a Spencer and a Storm Lake and a Grinnell? I mean, you're bigger than Grinnell.
Yes, right.
Grinnell has a college and supermarkets
Right.
and theaters and radio stations. I mean, you see where
I
I'm
do.
going with this?
Absolutely.
If I'm not being fair, but
No.
I'm just trying to.
And what I would tell you is, believe it or not, I've lived in both communities, Storm Lake and Spencer. The thing that
We have
obviously
radio stations.
they do,
And
they're booming.
newspapers, and they're the same size.
Right,
You know?
but they are the kingdom in that county.
Okay.
And I mean, you're talking rural Iowa, and you're talking, but they are great communities, but they are the Des Moines to their county. And so and plus it doesn't hurt to have the Iowa Great Lakes or Storm Lake, right there, which is a great
Buena
tourist
Vista
run.
College.
Buena Vista is there, right? But the thing that Pleasant Hill has is it has all of those same elements. I mean, like I said, 15 minutes you can be to the Civic Center. You can be, so we are blessed that we are in an area where we have so many things to do that, so I don't worry that, about that, but I believe that where we're at currently, like you said, when you drive through, I think there has to be growth. And I think, that's where I would see, as you go east out of Pleasant Hill, where new businesses could go. There's room by City Hall and down in that where new businesses could come in. And I think there's an opportunity to annex land. So I think you will see that. But like I said, when you're in Clay County, everybody goes to Spencer because that's what you need.
That's fair.
Yeah, and we got the point, so.
Last couple questions. Is there anything we missed that we should have covered? Any priority you have that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Not really. I think, I talked a little bit about, where I hope to see the city go. And, when we're looking at an election, I guess we have 3 candidates for 2 positions. So, one of us obviously won't be a city councilman. But, when I originally looked at that, I believe that if you have a desire and you feel that you can make a difference, and I've really back to the beginning again with my mom, that was kind of you should make a difference.
Public service.
Yeah.
If people want to reach you, how do they reach you?
Patrick Hoye City Council.
Spell that.
PatrickHoye at Patrick Hoye City Council at gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonathan.